Hello friends, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sitting down and chatting with you about a few life updates and a bunch of random things. I'm going to be sitting in front of the camera and just chatting away, so feel free to put this video in the background. I'm not going to really show anything, but I am going to be talking about a variety of things such as my YouTube videos. That's probably the biggest thing that I'm going to talk about, but I will also talk about my Google Pixel 7 Pro and my Google Pixel Watch, give you a little bit update on that because I know you are all very interested in hearing about those and a couple of other things. So let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about, and by the way, if my voice sounds funny, it is the first thing in the morning. I didn't even have my coffee yet. I just wanted to sit here and chat with you for a bit, so forgive me if I sound a little funny. But the first thing that's on my mind is about my YouTube videos. I feel like I have been in such a creative rut lately when it comes to YouTube videos, and I feel like the reason why is because I am being stretched so thin across so many different platforms right now. I have done so much work in the past to make sure that I minimize the amount of platforms that I'm actively on to make sure that I don't spread myself out thin. But in 2023 there have been so many changes and so many new platforms that have come out to a point where everything is just like a gamble. I don't even know what is going on in the social media world, and so it's hard for me to kind of balance all of the creative parts of me that are going into these new platforms and trying to figure out these new platforms while also maintaining the platforms that I currently have. So I feel like YouTube has suffered a lot in that sense because all of the other platforms that I'm on, they're very short form content type of platforms, so I can kind of just, post and go kind of thing. But for YouTube, of course, I sit down, I do research, I prepare, I film, then I edit, and then I fine tune everything. So it's a much longer process that spans across like several days as opposed to content on TikTok and Instagram that is just like a couple of hours in terms of like creating the piece. So I just feel like that creative rut has really affected the quality of my YouTube videos. I want to be more creative. I want to lean into my more artsy side when it comes to my YouTube videos. I want to experiment with editing. I want to experiment with different camera angles and styles and things like that. And I feel like I haven't been able to give myself that and give you that as well. So all of this is to say that I am working on it, and we're approaching autumn, and I'll talk about autumn soon, but we're approaching autumn, and for me, that is where my creative flow is at its best. It's at its peak. And so I have high hopes for YouTube and the quality of my videos and where I want them to go. I have hope for them coming to fruition soon. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I feel like as we enter autumn, I'm going to try and focus and emphasize and prioritize creativity over just cranking out content constantly. So you may see a shift in the style of my videos. You may see a shift in the frequency of my videos as I transition into like a whole new kind of style of videos. Of course, the content itself is not going to change. I'm always going to be posting about slow living content. That's what my platform is about. And I will be obviously posting about my Pixel phones, Pixel devices, stuff like that. I know you all really, really love that. By the way, I'm sorry if I sound a little stuffy. I'm allergic to my cats, and in the morning, there's just a lot going on. But yeah, just stay tuned for that, and I hope you're excited because I am excited, and I feel like it's a much needed update to the platform. I want Slow Morning Diaries to feel like Slow Morning Diaries. I don't want it to feel like, just any generic boring video that you can find anywhere, and it's not that interesting. It has no personality. I have so much personality that I'm kind of just not giving to you and not like releasing out into the world, and I feel like that's a shame. So more to come. And since I was talking about autumn and my peak of creativity happening during the autumn time, I just want to say how excited I am for autumn. I know I'm like one of those annoying people that's already excited for spooky season when it's like July 5th, and that might be like super annoying to some people, but I do know that there's a huge community of you out there, especially people who watch my videos in particular, that really love autumn, love the whole vibe of it, love the cool, crisp air and the weather, everything about it is just great. And so I just want to say I'm excited about it, and it just brings me back to the idea of seasonal slow living, which I really encourage a lot on this channel. I talk about it so much, but it's really underrated. A lot of people don't realize, like, if you have access to the seasons, if you have access to any sort of like environmental kind of climate, you can make the most out of it, especially if you're in a situation where you're sick and tired of the heat, or you're longing for another season to get here, to arrive, or if you're just not a fan of a particular season and it's approaching and you know that you're gonna feel like not so great about it. I feel like adopting the seasonal slow living practices and habits can help so much with that. This past summer has been one of my favorite summers as an adult, and I owe pretty much all of that to all of the slow living practices that I have talked about in last week's video. I think it was last week. Was it last week? It was a very recent video where I talked about like my non-negotiables for summer, and those non-negotiables, life-changing. I had such a good summer while it was hot and gross and we went through a really intense heat wave. I still had a pretty good summer, and otherwise I would just be dreading these past few months and just, waiting and longing for colder weather. So I just want to reiterate how important it is, and as we approach autumn, whether you have access to, the traditional northeast coast type of autumns with foliage and cold weather and stuff like that, either way, even if you do have access to that or not, I definitely recommend you at least, adopting some sort of seasonal habits so that you can either embrace a new season that's coming, or embrace a season that you're currently in, or embrace the climate that you are in, that you are kind of getting sick of, or you don't really love anymore, or you're just falling into a rut when it comes to like your environment, if that makes sense. Okay, moving on to the Pixel devices. So I know you're all super interested in knowing updates about my phone and my watch, and I feel bad because I don't do many videos on updates because I don't have many updates to share. I will say my overall experience with the Google Pixel 7 Pro has been a really great experience. I love this phone. I have had minimal issues with this phone. The experience that I had with the Google Pixel 6 Pro was probably one of the worst experiences that I've had with Pixel devices in general. I think there was one other Pixel phone that I really disliked as well. But this one, the 7 Pro, I've had such a great experience with it. It's to a point where I don't have updates because it's such a good experience. Now, I will say it hasn't been a perfect experience. Unfortunately, there's something with Google Pixel devices, and maybe it is with other devices too, and people just don't like to admit to the faults of their phone. But there's something about Google Pixel phones where there's just like one thing every once in a while that just starts messing up. I don't understand why. For me, again, it was with the camera with this phone, which is big unfortunate thing for me because the camera is the most important thing for me. But there was a time, and I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and it was a big spurt during this week. Maybe it was during the heat wave. That would make a lot of sense. But the camera was constantly shutting down while I was using it. It would take a picture, and it was particularly in the portrait mode. I would take a picture and it would click like the picture took, and the picture did take. It's just that it froze as I took it, and then it shut down. And then when I tried to open it back up, it would take a very long time, 10 to 15 seconds long, before the app would even open again. And then I would try to take a picture again, it would do the same thing. And so it was like an endless loop of it taking the picture, freezing, crashing, opening it up, repeat over and over again. And it was very annoying because I was at an all-day event when this happened, and I was trying to get a lot of shots with people, and I don't like to inconvenience people and make them stand there and wait for me to take a picture. It really shouldn't take long, especially if you're using a smartphone. So it was frustrating for me. And it really is weird how it happens during times where you need it to work fast. But it did also happen over the course of a few days, and I will say that was like maybe that was like a week and a half ago, and it has not happened recently. So maybe it was because of the heat wave and my phone was acting weird because it was so hot. That would make sense. That would line up with what happened in the past with other Pixel phones. The 6 Pro definitely had heating issues, so maybe that was the case. And maybe I should be nice about it. Maybe I should give a little bit of grace for the fact that the world shouldn't be so hot, and so this phone is not prepared for such heat. But still, it was something that I noticed and was kind of annoying. But other than that, the phone has been perfect for me. I otherwise wouldn't even change phones to the Pixel 8, but depending on what happens in the conference, we'll see what happens. The Google Pixel Watch now, you may notice that I haven't been wearing it on my wrist. Maybe you haven't noticed. My wrists aren't really in the videos, but I have not been wearing it on my wrist during the day because I got this new band, and this is not a Google verified band. Let me just say that. I got it off of Amazon, and the only reason why I got it is because it is stretchy. And the reason why I got a stretchy band is so that I can fit it onto my ankle. The reason why I did that has nothing to do with the watch itself. It just has to do with me getting my steps in, and I have a walking pad, so it doesn't really catch my steps when I'm wearing it on my wrist because I'm like working and my hand is not moving. But my feet are definitely moving. So I just got a band here. If you're interested in what the band is, again, I got it off of Amazon. I will link it. When I say that it's not Google verified, you may hear this. It's not perfectly snug. So whoever, like the brand that made this, while it absolutely fits into the little clasps, it's not perfect. And so there's a little bit of a wiggle room. It's kind of annoying to hear that like noise, especially when I have it on my ankle and I can physically hear it like make that noise. Aside from that, it works and it does exactly what I need it to do. And the watch itself, I would say it has been a good experience with the watch. I really like the look of it. A lot of people compliment me and tell me that the watch looks great. They actually ask me what kind of watch it is because they haven't seen a watch quite like that. I guess people are more so accustomed to seeing the shape of an Apple Watch. I really like it. I like the interface. I haven't had any issues with it. I will say the biggest thing that I was super excited about with it is the speaker in order to like take phone calls from it, but I tend to not even use it that much. I don't know why. Maybe because I have Bluetooth headphones and I end up using that instead, or maybe because like usually when I'm talking on the phone and I have if I'm talking on the phone and I don't want to put the phone to my ear and I put it on the watch instead, it's usually because I'm doing a lot of things. I'm multitasking, and so my hands are moving around a lot. And so like the frequency of my voice going in and out and like not hearing it perfectly through the watch because I'm like doing things, washing dishes, like it's not loud enough, and the mic to talk into it is probably a little funky on the receiver's end because I'm just like doing things. So practically maybe it doesn't end up working out, but that's the only thing that I have about that. The battery still sucks. I still don't recommend it at the price that it's at. If you get it on sale, and I'm sure you're going to get it on sale as we approach a new conference and the holidays, maybe give it a try. If you're very curious about it, definitely give it a try if you're interested, but I don't think it's worth the price tag. It's pretty expensive for the first of its kind of watch, but I will leave that to your discretion. Okay, I feel like I've been chatting for a while, so I will end this off by talking about the podcast. So the podcast is pretty much official. It hasn't launched yet. It will be launching on August 30th. So that is the last Wednesday of this month. So mark your calendars. You can already find us on social media. Liver Alone Pod is the handle. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I have been posting a little bit on Instagram, just like post about behind the scenes and like all of the processes type of stuff leading up to the launch date. And then we have a whole season pretty much recorded and ready to go. We have our music. We had a musician create a jingle for us. It's super nostalgic. It's super eerie. And if you haven't been watching my other videos, Live or Alone Pod or Live or Alone Podcast is a horror podcast that I started with my husband Ian, and it's basically a podcast of us casually but passionately chatting about different horror pieces, different horror media. And horror media is pretty much more than just movie and TV shows. I feel like a lot of podcasts strictly stick to movies and TV shows, but we're also talking about creepypastas, novels, poetry, video games, local legends, and all sorts of other things. So it's just a spooky podcast where two people who are very much in love with spooky stuff have fun, chill, casual conversations. There's game segments. It's a lot of fun, and I hope you are all very excited about it. I'm super excited about it. It was something that was just planted in my head for like 5 years, over 5 years, and then last year I kind of like publicly expressed my idea, and a lot of people were just very interested in me launching it because they know how passionate I am about horror. So that's what kind of enticed me to actually go through with it. And I just want to thank anyone and everyone who has sent me support and encouragement to start it, because if you didn't tell me like you should do it, I would have definitely not done it. I mean, it was an idea for 5+ years. It would have just kept on being an idea in my head. So I just want to say thank you about that. And if you do want to check it out, again, Live or Alone Pod. And I just appreciate the support. But that is all for this week's video. I will talk more about like seasonal slow living and the podcast updates. Not too much about the podcast because I know not everybody's into horror, but I'll give major updates as they come. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little chat. I hope my voice wasn't annoying. I don't know why I chose first thing in the morning when I have my allergy situation and no coffee to do this, but I was just so obliged. I was so compelled to talk to you. But thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in next week's video.